Some of us are already very tired. It's a wonderful place to be, this actually. Well, I think I've just found my favourite motorbike of the day. Here's the 5-litre 4-cylinder engine in the Chalmers. Today on CarTraction, you join us outside a very lovely Victorian building. Today we are at Mill Meece Pumping Station, an original Victorian steam-powered water pumping station that is still running today. They've got a bit of a sort of classic car show, bikes, pretty much everything is going on here. And as you can see, we are here in the 1950 Ford V8 Pilot, all leafleted, that is a word, up, and information sheeted up. I think there's even a few old push bikes here today, which could be interesting to look at. We are still hideously early, of course. There's a few things turning up. Great variety of classic cars, including this Mark 1 1600 GT Mexico Ford Escort, among, I'm sure, what will be a very good turnout today. The weather is absolutely fantastic. And I think, first of all, while there's not much driving, we'll have a little look at the interior of this fantastic original Victorian pumping station.
We had an incredible turnout.
Very smart Rover P4, complete with many badges. So just beyond us in the Ford V8 Pilot, the Rover P4 has parked up now. We have the long wheelbase Land Rover Defender. It's probably 1980s in date. I think it's actually a pickup with a sort of canvas flap put on it. And that is absolutely immaculate. The condition of that is absolutely incredible. Moving on, we have the Triumph Herald 1360, 13/60, referring to the 1300cc engine making 60 brake horsepower. The car that came after the 1250 Herald, which had a 1200cc engine making 50 brake horsepower. This has got the updated styling. Though the backs do seem to be very similar in relation to the 1250s and the 1360s, but the front obviously restyled. The whole bonnet's up, which means we can't see the restyled front, but it does mean we can see how easy these are to work on. We've got these splash guards, which I'm sure would have bolt pretty easily. There's obviously the carburetor, nice and easy to get at. Dizzy cap, nice and easy to get at. Alternator or dynamo right there, you know, it looks like really nice to work on. This is an evolution of the standard SC 4-cylinder engine, first found in the standard motor company cars, the likes of the standard H saloons like we have from 1956. Another great thing about this bonnet design is, and I do say this quite often, you can very comfortably sit on the tyre while throttling your engine. Under the tree here is this Jaguar XJ. This is the X350 shape, which I believe is the first of the aluminium bodied Jaguar XJs. One of our more modern sort of interesting, that's a nice motorbike, yeah, one of our more sort of modern classics at home is the X308 Jaguar XJ8, which was the steel lower slung saloon. This is the generation that came after, the sort of kind of higher up aluminium bodied saloon. And this is a Land Rover Series 1, very nicely accessorised with the period trailer we'll look at in a mo. This looks very in keeping below this tree, doesn't it? I really would fancy one of these original AAGB plates. I think that would just look so cool in the shed, and then one day I could put it on a classic car that I may own. We're only actually a few months away now until I can drive. Obviously I've driven on like various abandoned runways and driveways, but yeah, until only a couple of months until we're actually going to be taken to the road. So yeah, still not quite decided what my first classic will be, but there, yeah, here's the aforementioned lovely original Land Rover trailer here. We have a jerry can for sale for the princely sum of £20, dated 1945. I'm sure that's a good deal for someone. But this is a lovely Brockhouse trailer with the original brass plaques down there. Really nice period accessory that looks really in keeping with this absolutely fantastic Series 1 Land Rover. Really nice and original looking old Land Rover. The short wheelbase this. The sound you can hear is actually a train. I think we're next to the West Coast Main Line or something like that. It is certainly quite an active railway, so we'll be getting a few train visitations, which might mess up my microphone. We'll have to see. I'll try and work around it, but yeah, that is one really, really nicely presented Series 1 Land Rover with its original Lucas trafficators. You know, you hear early when even the stationary engines haven't fired up yet. All still and silent in this section, but these are just fantastic little bits of mini engineering, you know, super satisfying to watch. Little one for sale here, I think that's the little blue one for sale there. These will probably all be demonstrating sort of lighting up little lamp bulbs, pumping water, things like that. It would have been used for in period. This is an Amanco stationary engine and a Amanco hired man. There you go, 2.25 brake horsepower, petrol fueled from 1922 this engine is. Some of us are already very tired. Thank you to the volunteers at the Mill Meece Pumping Station for letting us have a little look around nice and early. And it's just so satisfying to look at these huge steam powered bits of machinery and engineering, all original. This is all very nice old fittings in here. Just going past the superintendent's office, which has some very satisfying like machine things. I'm not exactly sure what those are for. All very nice and in keeping in here. They've certainly thought about having sort of the old fittings, all the old coat hooks, all the old suitcases. And here's his desk. Everything here is in absolutely beautiful condition and all in working order. It's really a credit to the 100% volunteer team that keep this place running. Improved engine counter, that's labelled as. Yeah, this place operates entirely off sort of income from events and donations. These huge wheels operate at 19 RPM, producing over 300 horsepower. Both of these wheels weigh in at 32 tons each. So below us there are actually two huge tanks, which is where the water is initially pumped out and put in before being pumped into the reservoir. So below those two tanks there are two 1,250 foot deep boreholes just down there, which is a very long way if you don't know what sort of feet are. If you're a metric person, we're still desperately clinging on to Imperial here in Britain, and each of these two engines could pump 5 million gallons of water a day. which is quite a bit, and then it'll obviously be taken off to a reservoir somewhere else. But yeah, it's just, I understand that it's not the most exciting thing for a lot of people, but it's just like, I really do love looking at these beautiful, beautiful old engines. Like every sort of like last fitting is absolutely gorgeous on it, and everything is sort of in keeping. All the old oil cans, but even like the oiling system, it's just all incredible. We're leaving for now. We'll see what other classic cars have turned up, but before long they'll actually be firing up these engines, so we'll make sure to come back for that, to see these incredible pieces of engineering in action. The stationary engines are going now. Oh, I didn't see this little room here. Hopefully the camera will adjust. Yes, we'll definitely make sure to see those well-oiled machines in action. We've got some smaller scale well-oiled machines in action here, and a few more classic cars have turned up, so we'll have a look at those shortly. This is a BSA, this engine, BSA 420cc from 1948. One new arrival is this very smart Ford Capri. Now this would actually be a very desirable car. This is a Capri Mark 1 or Mark 2, I'm not sure which, but it is a 3-litre V6 Essex powered car. The big engine, available as 4 cylinders these, but the 3-litre was the biggest engine, and that is what this car has, so that'll be quite desirable and an exciting drive. And here's a fantastic little car. This is a Barclay little micro car. This one is. Now I think these have like a 2-stroke Villiers motorbike or like moped derived engine, because back in the day in the 50s, like you could drive a 3-wheeler like a cycle car or something it might have been called on like a motorbike license, so that's why these things exist. 2,300 miles since new on this one. And I do like these because they're sort of like, they got that little sort of sports car type front on them. Very cool little Barclay with a stunning old lamp on the front of there. That's like a sort of 1910 vintage bike lamp or something. I'd love one of those on my old bike, but yeah, that's somewhat older than that Barclay, but that is an amazing little lamp on the front of that little 3-wheeler. Just beyond the Escort Mexico, here's another new arrival. This is a great looking little car. I think this is a Mark II Morris Cooper S Mini, but obviously a police one. This is a period Liverpool police car. Makes sense, I suppose, for them to have a Cooper S Mini, aftermarket RPM gauge. I suppose, you know, it would fit down any sort of narrow alleyways to catch them crims. 1275 A series. Yes, a Mark II Mini Cooper S. Superb original car, this one. Yeah, it makes sense, you know, these are sort of really quick round corners for high speed pursuits, and yeah, it's great to see such a beautifully original one. I'd love to hear the sound on that. I bet it's got a very nice tone to it. Just beyond the Series 1 Land Rover is this very smart little Austin A35 saloon, 2-door saloon. Another BMC A series powered car, as is that Mini over there. I was sort of thinking about this the other day, and the vast majority of classic British cars are actually powered by the BMC A series engine, aren't they? That's another motorbike, that's a BMW, that one. Turning up now. So this being an A35, this will have a 948cc BMC A series engine. Very shiny little car. Oh, look at that. A beautiful vintage Alvis. Now I have actually had a tip that the vintage Alvis club will be coming to this Mill Meece Pumping Station sort of car show and other things. That's a beautiful 6-cylinder 1250 Alvis. That sounds gorgeous. So I think we'll be seeing quite a few vintage and pre-war era Alvis cars today, so that would be great. But I do really love the look of this A35 from 1958. This one is 1st of August, first registered. There's even a wartime Jeep turning up now. It's a very informal meet. If you don't think much has turned up here or yet already, it's still very early, you know. It's sort of come and go when you want type of meet, this one, which is very good. It's very laid back, you know. And that's that is quite the exhaust setup on this sort of 1980s era Mini. Yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing a few more vintage Alvis cars. Some great bits of memorabilia to go with this engine. There's another Lister here running, also with some nice memorabilia up front and a nice old sort of wooden tool case. This is a Wolseley engine from 1947. Gorgeous vintage Austin is next to roll in. The wartime Jeep has parked over here. I actually really like this meet because a lot of the sort of bigger sort of steam rallies and car shows you go to, you know, there's no moving your cars after 10. You have to be in at a certain time, but this one is just so nice and relaxed. It's just come when you want, go when you want, park where you want. There's no sort of marshals yelling at you where to go, you know. It's really, really nice and relaxed. We'll have a look around the bikes and the push bikes later. And it's just in an absolutely fantastic location. And there's a lot of nice things turning up, such as this wonderful wartime Jeep. It's got a 1943 jerry can on the back of this one, all accessorized in the way any wartime Jeep should be. We even have a little bit of classic truck action for you. This looks to be sort of 1960s in date AEC Mercury. That's just parked up over here in front of what is an absolutely insane collection of spanners here. Wow, I suppose they're not all spanners, but I think this probably pips my collection just about. Oh, well, absolutely beautiful these though. Triumph Tiger is at the sort of older end of the collection of enthusiast motorcycles here today. There's a more modern Yamaha and a fantastic 1950s, 1960s Royal Enfield. That's a really handsome motorbike, that one. A Royal Enfield Bullet, a 350cc engine. Nice to see this one's got all the period accessories. It's got a period Lucas battery box. It looks like a really nice old motorbike. And just over here, just before some more chattering stationary engines, are a couple of old bikes. I'm sure we'll be seeing more of these hopefully later on. This is the older of the only two examples, sadly, so far. A lady's bike, obviously. Personally, I've always preferred the look of gents' bikes, but yeah, that's certainly quite an old one in nice original condition. I think that's probably a Raleigh, that one. I can't quite see the original label. A little child scooter, and this is like a sort of 1960s racer bike with a very nice Brooks saddle. This is a gents' bike. For a while, I was looking at like a vintage racing bike, but I came to the decision that one 1952 push bike is enough. Mine is a gents CWS Federation. But I do really like the sort of look and stance of these sort of racer era, classic racer era bikes. Another Raleigh, this one.
The 21 is next to arrive.
To be honest, I really do love the pre-war era of cars, and one of my actual favourite cars of today, at least so far, is this gorgeous pre-war, probably early 1930s in date. It's a chrome radiator, which helps us date this one a little bit earlier. as opposed to the later sort of painted radiator Austin. So I think this is an Austin 10/4, so much larger of course than the likes of the Austin 7. That would have been the cheapest in the range, but still having a 4-cylinder. There was the 10/6 Harley, which I do quite like because it happens to be my name. And yeah, I just really love this era of vintage Austin. Chrome rad just looks so lovely, that, doesn't it? Another little section over here. Got the split window VW camper, that looks fantastic in the two-tone livery. It is of course very, very iconic and popular nowadays. I do like the original, or at least period style, Blaupunkt radio in that. That's pretty cool in this one. Nice little period accessory. Porsche rims, Porsche wheels. Mobil oil sticker, that one is, I think. That's the early style of Mobil oil logo. Very comfy living space. Still space for a large boot. And then a gorgeous front, you know, like what's not to like about that one. Very, very cool. The Rover P4. I haven't seen one in this two-tone livery for a long time, or at least ever, I think. You see a lot of them in grey, but this is in a sort of grey and maroon, which is a colour scheme I've never seen before. It's a Rover 100, so I think by that point it'd be a 6-cylinder. These were sold both as 4 and 6-cylinder powered cars. 4-speed manual gearbox. I think some of them might have had overdrive. But these are just, yeah, I really love these. One of the sort of cars from the 50s that I'd happily set on a motorway. Really usable classic car, that. Love the look of that Rover P4. The owner has allowed me a seat in this wonderful Rover P4. Mid-1950s classic British saloon. So comfy and nice inside here. What I didn't know about these is we've actually got the handbrake on the right here. All the instruments there. It's a wonderful place to be, this actually. Really usable and comfy classic car. Under the bonnet of this gorgeous Rover P4, 6-cylinder powered car, this one. Another new arrival on the end of this rope in the form of this fantastic Lotus Elan. This is the fixed head coupe as opposed to the convertible variant of the same car. These are just glorious little sports cars, I think. Little twin cam 4-cylinder up front in these. Really good sounding little engine. A lot of people do take these to historic racing events. This is obviously a completely unmolested, original, unmodified car. But a lot of people race them because they just drive so well. It's such a good floor pan. So lightweight, of course, what Lotus has always been famous for. Lovely knockoff spinners on the steel wheels. I really like the look of this one. Pop-up headlamps as well. What more could you want? Maestro's rolling in, but we're hot-footing it to the pumping station itself, as I think now, or at least very soon, they'll be firing up the engines. I must warn you guys, this is severely satisfying to watch. It's amazing how such incredibly heavy and industrial sort of metal parts can move with such elegance. We have some miniature steam in action over here. It does make a very satisfying sound, this. And of course, now that that one's going, all these ones in here are also at it. Really is fantastic to see all of these in perfect working order, just like they would have been. All of the sorts of brass fittings are beautifully maintained. I mean, the whole things are beautifully maintained. Look at that for a sort of panel board or instrument board. It's just gorgeous. It really, really is very therapeutic watching these at work. These cogs are rotating very slowly, then we've got fast cogs down there and very, very fast ones up there. Just amazing to see these huge, you know, those would weigh so much. It's all cast iron pieces, but it's just absolutely amazing to see them move in this way with such sort of fluidity, you know. It's just so satisfying. Oh, back out in the daylight now, and looks like we've got quite a turnout of vintage Alvis cars, so it makes sense to have a look at these now, all lined up in front of the fantastic pumping house. That particular engine will be running for a couple of hours or so before they switch it off and turn on the other engine. But yeah, it's just so satisfying to watch. Anyone who is sort of interested in classic cars can appreciate the sheer sort of ingenuity and engineering that went into those. The particular one that was just running, first installed in 1914, but this is one absolutely lovely collection of vintage Alvises. These are all Alvis 1250s, or the 600s, which might be the 1260. Now this is an especially nice one. This is like a part fabric bodied saloon. To be honest, this is probably the one I'd have of the lot in black. That just looks so sleek and menacing, you know. That looks really sleek, that particular Alvis 1250. Yes, that is a particularly nice one, of course, with the mascot we should be able to find on most of the Alvis cars. Say this is another Alvis 1250 twin SU carburetors on this one. This is in polished aluminium bodywork with a nice boat tail around the rear. Something all these Alvises will have, well, not all of them will have such a lovely GB plate with a nice cast Alvis badge, but these all Alvises all have the gear selector and the handbrake mechanism on the right hand side of the driver. That was the thing with many pre-war cars like Bentleys and Rolls Royces, but Alvis also did that, so you'll often see people with these cars sliding across there. And actually this particular car actually has a spare wheel on the side of there, so the driver would definitely be getting in through this door for this particular Alvis 12/50. But it does leave a lot more legroom, I suppose, for passengers. So that's there's always an upside to anything strange like having a gear selector on the wrong side. Now this is a bit of an intruder, this one. This is a absolutely gorgeous pre-war Citroen two-seater Tourer. So it probably counts as a doctor's coupe, this. Two-seater Tourer with the dicky seats in the back. Solid wheels, very common Citroen design feature. Little light tray for mounting something on there. Wicker basket on the back, spare tyre. Spare wheel actually, yes, well, spare wheel. That's a really lovely car, that. Probably the rarest out of the lot, Terra. So that's where the dicky seat would lift up. To probably store two people in there, you could probably get in there. I love this metal sort of line beading down the side. We used to have a Morris Minor from 1932, and that had a very similar setup around the back. That's a four-seater Tourer, that particular Alvis 1250, which looks very sharp on those green wheels, doesn't it? But out of the lot, this Citroen's probably the rarest. It's an absolutely gorgeous pre-war Tourer. Got the Boyce motor meter on the top of the radiator cowling on this one. Absolutely beautiful pre-war car. Marshall headlamps, some very nice side lamps as well. There's one gorgeous car. This is 1927, this particular Alvis 1250. Another four-seater Tourer. This is a really nice Alvis. This is the Silver Eagle Alvis. So this is the six-cylinder powered car. You had the Alvis 1250 like this one here, which was the four-cylinder car, and then there was the Silver Eagle, which was the more powerful and larger six-cylinder car when compared to the smaller 1250s. Hence the Silver Eagle badge up front. Lucas King of the Road, Biflex long range headlamps. This is also one of my favourites actually. Roof up, looks really sharp actually. It's a Sports Tourer, this one, the specific name, the Silver Eagle Sports Tourer. Really nice recessed dashboard on this one. Really sort of set back. Also gear selector and handbrake mechanism on the right hand side of the driver. You can actually see on this one, it doesn't even have a door. Here, we've got two doors for the rear passengers, but there's not even a door here because you just wouldn't get in there. So yeah, because of these being here, you just wouldn't get in there, so that's why the driver would have to get in through that door, and that's why Alvis hasn't even fitted, or whatever coach maker made this body hasn't even bothered fitting this door, because you'd always just slide across from the other side, because you'd always be catching, you know, nowadays be getting in your trouser leg or something, the gear selector and handbrake mechanism. But being a Silver Eagle, that's an especially rare car, probably the one I'd have with the larger, more powerful, probably 6-cylinder engine. A lot of these, well, they're all eligible for VSCC events, so you do see a lot of them hill climbing, a few of them trialling. And then this is a sports tourer, this particular 1250 here, so we're back to the 4-cylinder cars now, I think. But just absolutely gorgeous bodywork on that one, tapers off just beautifully to the back of this particular Alvis 1250. Once again, no door fitted to that side, and a door on this side. Another polished aluminium bodywork car with the blue wings. This is 1924. This Alvis 1250 Super Sports. Another absolutely jaw-dropping car, the Silver Eagle, with the slightly different style of radiator cowling. Sort of marks it out from the others. It would look quite different under the engine bay. The 6-cylinder unit's quite a bit larger than the 4-cylinders found in all the others. And these Alvis 1250s, this one will be a 4-cylinder. We can actually get a little look at the engine of this particular Alvis 1250 here. Also fitted with Lucas King of the Road headlamps. Triple carbs on this one, wow.
Rob's mother, Annette. Yeah. If we go up that way, you can give her...
The fact that this one has triple carbs, and just by the size of the engine bay suggests that this actually might be either a Silver Eagle or a 6-cylinder powered Alvis 1250, because that was a very, very large capacity engine bay. And yeah, you wouldn't have triple carbs in a 4-cylinder, so triple carburettor, triple SUs by the looks of it, 6-cylinder in this beautiful Alvis. That would actually drive really, really nicely. It's probably one of the more usable cars out of this absolutely fantastic turnout of pre-war and vintage Alvises, with the wonderful Citroen Tourer gate crashing the lot.
Yes.
You can just see the big flywheel rotating on the engine, still going strong in there, over 100 years after it was first installed. A couple of veteran tractors now, just beyond the Alvis contingent. This is a wonderful pre-war, obviously Fords and Major, might even be pre-First World War. That is a super nice oily rag one now. If anyone knows in the comments, Dad, what's this all about there? Yeah.
Pondering myself.
It's almost like you want a hedge cut while you're driving along, or something like.
Not sure what that is. Maybe somebody knows their agricultural implements.
Yeah, if you do know what that is on the side of that rear wheel, then let us know in the comments below. But this is a superb original oily rag Fords and Major. Really like the look of this one. Very large engine, probably quite a powerful unit, certainly for its time. Yeah, really nice oily ragger. Still got bits of its green original paint, but I mean, why would you repaint that? Why would you ever think about repainting that? That just looks fantastic, exactly how it is. It's a very large capacity 4-cylinder in this particular tractor, and just next to that is this slightly later, but probably still sort of 1940s in era, McCormick Farmall tractor. This is most likely restored at some point. It's an American built tractor, international built. Huge tractor this. You can see the might of the steering column extending well above the top of the bonnet of the tractor. What's quite interesting with this one is there are even some dials. They're very minimalistic dials, or admittedly, but there's an oil pressure dial or something over there. There you go. Really nice original fitting. It's interesting how the dials, due to the eyeliner of the driver, you know, they're all the way over there. Usually there'd be a sort of like little cowling here where you'd have your sort of your revs and things, and I think on the other side there's the water level dial on this one. You've got a carburettor on this side of the engine, but that's the sort of driver's POV of the water dial. It's just a really unique feature actually that I've never seen, having the dials mounted so far forward. Usually they'd be here, but it's really cool having this little cowling here containing the oil and water dials. That's a really interesting feature on this gorgeous vintage tractor. Another point of interest with this Ford is that it's actually been fitted with this sort of flywheel on the side here. That would be because you'd usually sort of put a belt on that. The engine would probably engage that somehow with a button, engage this flywheel, then that would start spinning around like mad, and then you'd put like a leather, well, you'd probably put the leather sort of, or yeah, like fan belt sort of thing that would go on there, and then that would drive whatever you would like to drive over there, some form of implement, kind of similar way to the likes of the stationary engines. Yeah, I'm sure there'd be maybe sort of this lever or something would engage that, start that spinning, and then you could drive something else. But it's interesting that's still sort of left on there. It's not like a temporary thing, that's actually properly fitted sort of accessory, you could say, on this Fordson Major. Now this is a 1950 Caterpillar engine. One of the stationary engines down there is powering a wide selection of lamps. Since we've been mooching around the other areas, there's actually been quite a bit that's turned up, including this. Now this is a Morris 8 Series E, but it has had a later Lucas lamp conversion. Usually the front lamps on these, as you can probably see this seam here, they'd usually be like quite raked back like that, but you can actually see they're sort of been brought out like that. That's like a period sort of like mod or fitting, you could say, that people did, which is, it's fair enough, to be honest. I wouldn't do it now to a car, but if it was done in period, then that's alright. It's got a 1948 tax disc, but this is probably quite a bit earlier, this one, although they were produced from 1939 to 48. These are the Morris 8 Series E, so the vast majority being post-war. I can't imagine they would have continued production pre-war. But that is actually a really nice looking original car. I'd really love to have a little oily rag pre-war car like this. Ford Model Y, Morris 8, Austin 7 box saloon. It's just, it's my sort of attainable dream car, you know, to have a sort of nice original condition just like this. It's a relatively small engine because of insurance. Ideally I'd have like a 12.6 Harley, as I said earlier, but considering insurance is like pretty mad, you need as small engine as you can get. So my attainable dream car in the sort of years to come will be a sort of pre-war design saloon just like this. My favourite probably being the Model Y, but I definitely would have a Morris. Morrises were quite advanced at the time because they had the hydraulic braking systems. That was first seen on the likes of the Morris 8 Series 1, so that's not the Series E, that was the Morris 8 Series 1, Series 2, and then the updated Series E. I think they all do have very similar engines, but yeah, I'd really love a little car like that. Little Austin van. Does actually identify as an Austin, even though it does have the familiar Morris Minor front. These are badged up as Morrises and Austins in their period. Just a bit of brand loyalty coming into it. Bay window VW camper in white there, and a Morris Marina 4-door. Saw a coupe the other day, which is a really rare spot, but this is a 4-door Morris Marina. Absolutely mint. It's for sale, this car. Lives in Crewe. Very, very good condition. And we're back at what is actually one of my favourite cars here. I really love the look of that Rover P4. Had a chat to the owner. Yeah, really, really tasty car, complete with many badges. Split window VW camper. This is an MGC, so it's the 3 litre straight 6 in this one. Really fine sounding unit. And a Austin Maestro. This one was also for sale for £1,750. Can't be too many of these around now. This looks a very original example, this one. And another pre-war car's turned up. There's the Austin 10-4 here. It's actually 1935, this particular one. And then there's an Austin 7 here as well. Little Ulster Special. Might be an original, although a lot of people do take the likes of the Austin 7 box saloons. If the body was rotten or something, they convert it into what is actually called an Ulsteroid, which is a later built Ulster, but this may well be an original Ulster. Very, very common race cars in period, and to be honest, still very common at the likes of VSCC events. Probably one of the most affordable pre-war cars that are eligible for the likes of the vintage sports car club sort of trials events and hill climb events. External handbrake. Really usable little cars. These are parts absolutely everywhere for them because they've just sold so many. 20 brake horsepower from the 750cc side valve, full cylinders in these, 4-speed gearbox, but it only weighs 450 kilograms. The Lotus Land fixed head coupe is off. Quite a few more classic bikes around here now. Look at some of the older ones. Got the BSA there, Honda Cub, and beautiful AJS. That's a really sleek looking classic bike. That very shiny indeed. A three-wheeled Harley Davidson, a Yamaha, more modern BMW. A few more modern bikes, but what I've seen behind me is very cool indeed. We'll have a look at the motorbike first. Wow, really, oh, some Moto Guzzi, this one, super cool oily ragger. Continuing with the oily rag theme, next to arrive is this absolutely stunning VSCC special. This, at one point in its life, was a large American saloon such as Chalmers, but this one, as you can see, has been significantly cut down for racing and hill climbing purposes. The owner of this one gets a lot of use out of it. The likes of the VSCC Lowton Park, VSCC Prescott, maybe Shelsley. I haven't been to Shelsley. Yeah, it certainly does get used and abused, this vintage Chalmers. It has an absolutely thunderous and huge 4-cylinder engine, side valve. You can actually see the exposed side valves on this one, which is quite unusual. This one's spectacular car, and here's another look at the other side of the Moto Guzzi. Really nice and original condition. One of the smaller exhibits in the motorbike section is this. Now I think this is a Brompton folding motorcycle. The design was originally developed for the parachutists in the Second World War. They'd strap this to their parachutes, and then they'd have a little mode of transport once they were in foreign territory. This is a Brockhouse Corgi. Yes, that's the civilian version of the bike that was dropped from the plane so the troops could use it. It's 1948, this one. It's got a very small Excelsior engine. I mean, it must be fairly reliable, because to be bought in the sort of thousands by the British Army, you know, it would have had to be good, you know. Lives would have depended, I suppose, on the sort of the points in the distributor being very clean or something like that in this. But that's actually a really interesting little motorbike. Couple of new arrivals. That is one absolutely gorgeous 100E Ford side valve car, of course. This is a Ford Anglia, the 2-door. That is just a gorgeous little car. Really just immaculate car, that one. That is one fantastic little car, that. And just beyond that is this. This is a Ginetta, I think G15. Really hard to identify these. Okay, it's a G15, I can see it now, 1972. The most successful model, the G15. You really don't see many of these, actually. Yeah, that's a lovely little car, that, isn't it? Sliding windows. I think those are probably Morris Marina door handles, actually. They got used on a lot of things. It's got the fuel tank up front, so it's mid-engined, I think. Is it rear-engined? I really don't know. It's got a BMW engine making 130 brake horsepower, this one. Fantastic little car, that. Little Morgan here. And now a little correction, I actually called that an Austin 10.4 earlier. That is actually the 12.4 Harley, that one. So I was saying earlier how I really like the 12.6 Harley, which was the 6-cylinder variant of that car. As a freight train goes past, and that is the 12.4 Harley. So that is should really be my car, really, like personally, yeah, because of course my name is Harley. But yeah, the 4-cylinder series of the Austin 12 car. But that's just really handsome. I do like that one. Daimler SP250 Dart. Fantastic V8 sound. See, cars have left already and cars are still arriving, so that's what I like, is the sort of laid back nature of this particular car show. Come and go when you want. Free entry, that's also quite good. Obviously we do appreciate this a lot. because it was 100% volunteer workforce here, keeping the old pump house going. Yeah, just taking a few Instagram photos, detailed photos of the 100E Anglia. This one, I'll do an Instagram feature for a few of the cars here and a post for the general meeting, sort of the detailed things I can't show in the YouTube videos at CarTraction_vids on Instagram. So if you haven't already, make sure to give that a follow. But yeah, I certainly think this absolutely immaculate 100E Anglia will be a good subject for some detailed photos. I had noticed that actually another wartime Jeep has turned up now. This one with the canvas roof on. That has to be one of the widest engines I've seen on a motorbike for a while. 6 cylinders.
Wow, that is an engine, isn't it?
Another late arrival is this familiar Hillman Imp. Seen this one quite a few times before. With the black bonnet, or black boot. Black front boot, of course rear engined in those. Well, I think I've just found my favourite motorbike of the day. This has just turned up, this absolutely stunning 1920s, 1930s era Sunbeam Motorcycle. That is just absolutely gorgeous. I just love the 20s, 30s era of motorbikes, the really wide saddle. It just looks so good, so sort of low mounted, the saddle makes the whole bike look really low slung. Just looks absolutely just perfect, that.
Well, the thing is, it's not slow, especially
The Riley belongs to the gentleman who often turns up to the
And just beyond the 12.4 is another new arrival. This is a Daimler Dart, or a Daimler SP250, named that because it has the 2.5 litre aluminium block Daimler V8 engine that also went into Daimler's sort of converted Mark II Jaguars, you could say. 4-speed with overdrive, probably on 3rd and 4th. Really good looking cars these, I think. I hear something behind me. What will it be? It'll be a very stickered up Royal Enfield, followed by another Royal Enfield. Here comes the stunning Alvis Silver Eagle. That's an incredible classic car, vintage car I should be calling it. Sounds so good. Followed by an Alvis 1250, 4-cylinder in that one. We saw one of the engines working earlier inside the pumping house, and they've just switched on the second one. As you can see, this one is operating this pump here. The other one, as it's more over there, I don't think it's actually connected up to anything, but this one does actually like do some actual pumping. It's something like that. One of them's not connected, but it's still in working order. You can see that goes down into the sort of the tanks where the water's stored. This place was designed to supply water to the sort of stoke area around there. Very satisfying to watch. And then that pipe goes into there. And it obviously drives all this once again. So sort of smooth and fluid movement. Really satisfying to watch. I really do just absolutely adore the look of this vintage Sunbeam motorcycle. Hand gear change, very early 1930s in date. All the fittings are nice and period, loads of nice old stickers. I'd just love to own something like that. Maybe one day I'll try and get my bike license. Obviously I'm going to try and get into the old cars first. Maybe once I've got an old car that I'm sort of comfortable with, maybe I can start looking into sort of like a 1930s bike like this, but that'll be in quite a few years' time, unless my YouTube channel blows up overnight, which I don't think it will. But yeah, I'd absolutely love to own something like this beautiful vintage Sunbeam motorbike. I think that's just fantastic. The Riley 12.4 Special's parked over here. Pre-selected gearbox, seen this car plenty of times before. We know the owners of this car. They also have a Jensen CV8 which appears on the channel now and then. They get plenty of use out of both of their cars. It's good to see that one out again, which looks very, very smart, along with all the other things today, to be honest. In front of the great frontage of the pumping house. It's a really fantastic setting for a car show. Well, you always have to have a look around the public car park at these places. There's a Rover Metro over there, but look at this. Why is this not in the main show? Fantastic looking Rover P4 saloon. This is the Rover 90, so the one we saw earlier was the Rover 100, so the one we saw earlier was a 6-cylinder car, but this is a 90, so it's a 4-cylinder powered Rover, this one, on its original Blue Mel's number plate and number plate number. Lovely cars, these. 4 and 6 cylinders, both sort of powerful enough units for motorway use and daily use. Really practical classic car. I do like that one. Yeah, maybe a 6-cylinder Rover P4, then I can look into a vintage motorbike, but certainly for now I'm just going to focus on hopefully saving up for a classic car. Here's the 5-litre 4-cylinder engine in the Chalmers. As I said earlier, side valve, literally side valve. You can actually see the valves themselves. Usually they'd be encased behind some form of cowling or something, but exposed valves. As I said earlier, the owner of this car does a lot of VSCC racing and things like that, and I'm informed by Dad he's actually building another vintage VSCC special based around a 1913 V8 engine, so that would be quite exciting. He's certainly had this Chalmers for quite a while now. He does get a lot of use out of it. It'd be cool to see what will be rustling up before too long. Maybe we'll see it at a VSCC event before too long. We will have to see. That was the triple carburetted Alvis, so that would actually be quite an entertaining car to drive, that one. Quite a turn of speed, I guess. Ford Cortina Lotus, tuned up by Lotus Engineering, Mark II Cortina shape. Sounding very fruity.
We'll try and get something